Howdy, howdy, and welcome back. It's another Workshop Wednesday. Today, it's all about getting started, and specifically, we're going to talk about some tips and tricks using real-time reports in Google Analytics. All right, so before we go too far into this, my name is Chris Mercer. If you are new to Workshop Wednesday, welcome. I do go by Mercer, and I'm the co-founder here at measurementmarketing.io. Now, you can find our content on such platforms as Digital Marketer, Conversion Excel, Social Media Examiner, and of course, we have all of our different courses and training that we offer at measurementmarketing.io. Now, our main job is really to help people just like yourself learn how to use these tools. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Google Analytics today, and we're going to bring up the Measurement Marketing framework because it helps put this training in context. And I'm going to bring these up kind of quickly here because there's 5 key sort of pillars, we call them, for this. So there's the planning, which is figuring out what questions you're trying to answer, what information you're going to need in order to get those answers, what actions you're going to take based on those answers. Well, in part of your planning process, you're going to use the real-time reports to figure out kind of, how your traffic's coming through and if it's coming through and everything else. Where it's really going to be used is in the building process. So while you'll use it a little bit in planning, you will definitely use it in the building, because in the building is where you're using Tag Manager and Google Analytics to kind of make sure that all the information that you're trying to measure is in fact being measured, and obviously specifically in Google Analytics. So the real-time reports are custom built for that, and we'll show you how to use that. Now, in the reporting side of things, again, this particular report isn't really used for trying to actually make answers from anything. It's more of just, is this thing turned on? Is this thing working? So we're going to go through that and show you how to use it for reporting. And then forecasting and optimizing is really just helping you to predict out what future results you're supposed to get and then what you're going to do if you don't get those results. So that's kind of those 5 pillars. Now, with all of these workshops, just one new idea is all you are trying to get, especially if you're just starting out with Google Analytics or just new to the real-time reports, because there's a lot of different things we're going to show you here. So don't worry about hanging on to everything. That's why we're making this particular workshop publicly available so you can rewatch it over and over. All right, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Getting started, tips and tricks using real-time reports in Google Analytics. Now, we're just going to jump right in because I think that's always the best way to learn. So we're going to pull up Google Analytics, and we have ours pulled up here. And what we're going to do is talk about these real-time reports right in here. So the thing where it says real-time. Now, Google Analytics is custom built to answer 5 key questions, 5 general questions that you're going to ask yourself around your marketing. And I'm going to start with the audience. So we're going to start by saying, okay, who are our audience? Who are our users, really? And that's what this audience report's all about. Who are the people that are visiting your site in terms of what they like, their demographics, their gender, what devices they're using. So all about the users of your site. That's the audience. Obviously not specifically who they are. It's not personally identifiable, just details about your users in general. Then there's acquisition, which is where are those users coming from? So basically your traffic sources. Then it's behavior, which is what actions are those users taking? And then it's conversions, which are what are the results of those actions. And that's where your goal reports are and your e-commerce reports. Now, these 4 report areas here, these are really where you're answering your questions and you're making your forecast and you're optimizing and you're getting your insights from these. The real-time report is there to answer, is this thing working? And that's really all that you should be using it for. You shouldn't be using it for anything other than, is this thing turned on? Is this thing working? So we're going to talk about using that. So when we expand this out, you see we have a number of different real-time reports. We have our overview, locations, traffic sources, content, events, and conversions. We're going to go through all of them here. So I'm going to click on overview. Now, in the overview report, this is the one you probably have seen the most if you've played at all with real-time reports. You can see here currently, real time, we have 1 active user that's on our site at measurementmarketing.io. Now, we have set up some different filters to show our entire domain name here. So if that's not something, if you just see a slash, that just means your homepage. We've adjusted our account a little bit to do that. By the way, we have more details on that in Win Google Analytics Setup, if that is a Win course you haven't taken yet. And if you're a member already, you can take that to learn how to do that. Now, so far, we've got our active pages here, and you kind of have a rough understanding of what's going on. Again, an overview of the site, where they are, how long they came on, in this case, about 5 minutes ago. Then you've got the referral, if it was a referral source, the social, if it was a social source, in this case, keywords, if it came from some other source. So right now, it's keywords not provided from some source of traffic. Not a whole lot of details that are coming through here. So the overview is addicting because it can tell you details. Again, if they showed up on mobile, you'd see mobile show up in tablet and everything else. And it's a nice real time, especially if you have a lot of high traffic. If you just did a big mailing, or if you have a lot of traffic coming through from a paid traffic campaign that you just enacted, you can see this number climb. Like, it's kind of fun for that. Not really useful though. You really can't take any actions based on this. And again, that's not what the real-time reports are designed to do. They're not designed to give you marketing actions. They're designed to give you implementation actions. So how do I make sure things are working properly? So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to go through these reports and actually use them for testing. We're going to start with locations. So I'm going to show you a little trick here. This is the first little trick. Now I'm going to go to measurementmarketing.io so you can actually see it. So we're going to go here to my site. I'm going to show you a couple of things that are pretty cool about the real-time reports. First thing is we've got the page here. So I've got my page that's set up here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into United States. And then I'm going to go into, actually, let's go click out of this. I'm going to go back to overview. Let's make sure I'm loading up. You know what? I am not going to see myself. The reason I'm not going to see myself is because I have set up a view that filters out my internal hits. So anything coming from myself, I'm not going to see. So I'm going to go ahead and test view. And I want to make sure, let's just do, I think this one will work. We should see myself here. There we go. So now it says 2. So I was flipping my views around. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into locations. And I'm going to click into the country, and then I'm going to see Boulder and Pflugerville. This is where I am currently broadcasting from, in Pflugerville. Now, when I click on this, what you're noticing is when I do that, I'm sort of isolating the traffic. See, I went from 2 to 1. And notice up here, these little blue flags. These are built-in filters now that are being automatically added every time you click on something in the real-time report. It's automatically filtered by that thing that you just clicked on. If I want to get rid of one of them, I can. I can get rid of all of them if I wanted to. You hit that little clear button. So again, if I click this, you'll see where it says clear. That's clearing them all. So in this case, I'm just going to get rid of the one, say City of Pflugerville. So what's cool about this is now, as I go through, and I'm just going to go into the Win Courses page here. So notice the URL. So it's now the LP/Win Courses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Content. So I'm skipping traffic sources for a moment. I'm going to go to content. And what you're looking at is all the content that is coming or associated to the city of Pflugerville, which in this case is just me, because Pflugerville is a fairly small city. Now, if it was a larger city like New York City, this wouldn't work as well. You wouldn't be able to isolate just my own little traffic source because it's a bigger city, right? There's going to be a lot more people coming in from those areas, especially if you are higher traffic. Or if you're a local marketer, maybe in your local area, it'd be harder to do this. But it does allow you to filter down and see very clearly what pages those people from those small towns are coming from. And it's a great way to track yourself and measure yourself to make sure that things are tracking properly. But I'm going to show you one better. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out. And now you see this came back where there's another person here who's currently looks like going through a member that's actually going through one of the lessons. So we have me, which we know this is me because we just saw that page, and I'm loaded up right here on it. And then there's somebody else, one of the other members that are currently on our site. Now I show 2 because there's no other filters. Now watch what happens. If I click on courses, I'm now filtering by only active pages with courses. Okay, so note every time you click on something, just know that these little flags are there, and you're literally segmenting out that specific audience. You're filtering your reports by those flags. Just you realize that you're doing that. A lot of people don't realize that when they click on things. So I'm going to bring this back like we just did here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into, actually I'm just going to reload this page. We're going to do a little UTM magic. Now UTMs are again what we use to tag ourselves for traffic purposes. So if you are not familiar with UTMs, Win Google Analytics Basics is a perfect win to check that out. So I'm just going to go ahead and do test, UTM medium equals test. And I'm just going to do campaign for now as well because we need at least those 3. So you have to have these 3. So in fact, I'm going to say Mercer just so we can tag it. So it's UTM source of test, medium of test, campaign is Mercer. This is kind of what we use internally to help identify ourselves. So now I've got this page loading up with UTM source equals test, UTM medium equals test, UTM campaign equals Mercer. Now the very fact that I just did that caused Google Analytics to close one session and start another one because it got force-fed a new traffic source. That's what UTMs will do. So I'm kind of, I'm doing that on purpose in this case. But now that I've got that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the traffic source report. And what I should see is test, which I do. So I can see one of our members who came directly to the site. That makes sense. Most members do. And then I see the medium of test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on medium of test. Watch what happens. Now I'm seeing just test. Why? Because of this right here. So now I'm just looking at the medium of test. And what's really cool about this, if I go back to locations now, and I go into United States, you will notice that Pflugerville is the only city there. So I don't have to technically click in US. I can uncheck this and just go into the cities. And you'll see, again, Pflugerville is the only one there because of the medium test. It's the only city that is UTM'd as test. So you can see there's different ways to sort of stack these filters. What I like doing and what we do here at measurementmarketing.io is we will UTM ourselves. So where we do test, and then whoever the person is the campaign, just so we know whose traffic it was. And then we'll go into Google Analytics and we will click on the test, right? So that's what I did here. I just clicked on test and that brought up source of test, and you can see the campaign is Mercer. So it's clearly me. Then we will go through whatever the thing is that we are testing, that we are trying to make sure that the implementation is working. And what's happening, if I go to content now, you're going to see the current page I'm on, which is this Win Courses page. Well, then if I go into Win Monthly Pass and I go to learn more about this, notice the URL is going to change. All these UTMs are going to go away, but that's okay, because if this works properly, and this is a huge pro tip with analytics, you always want to think about what should this look like before you go check it out. So what should happen is the UTMs, even though they went away, I am still in an active session in Google Analytics. The visit is still active. And so all the different page views that I'm seeing in Google Analytics should be associated to that test, to that source of test, to that medium of test, to that campaign of Mercer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my Google Analytics and I'm going to click into that. When I click into that, it's going to be the content report that I was looking at. Remember, that content report was showing me the page I'm currently on in real time. And it should show me Win Monthly Pass now, as opposed to Win Courses, which was the previous page. So if we click in Analytics, you will see it says Win Monthly Pass. So I'm like, great. What's good about this is the fact that I did this medium test. What this means is this page is being associated to this traffic source. So if you ever are trying to figure out traffic attribution and you're trying to figure out why you have lost traffic attribution along the way, this is a very important thing. Because you can come in, you can UTM yourself, you will go from page to page to page, and then all of a sudden, one of those pages won't show up here. That is where you've lost cross-domain tracking, or at least it's one way you can possibly tell. It gives you at least an area to look. So super useful thing that you can do with your UTMs for that. Now, the other thing that's important, and I'm going to keep this as medium test so we just know it's me as I'm scrolling through here. I'm going to scroll through, and then I'm going to click on this button. So we're going to do a scroll and a click on this button. So we go into the order form. Notice, and this is what we talk about with cross-domain tracking and things like that. As I click through, I go to step 1. So I should see step 1 there, and I do. So that's perfect. And then if I go to the order form, so now I'm on a completely different domain name. Well, I want to ideally make sure that shows up, and it does. So there's my order form with my domain name all under test. So I know for a fact that all these different pages are being associated to the correct traffic source. So I don't have a traffic attribution problem. So super cool thing that you can do with UTMs as you're testing things. Now, the other thing is we're going to go into the events report. Now, remember, events are specific behaviors, and we have set these up using Google Tag Manager and other things to make sure that we're measuring different behaviors that are happening. So what I see, I've set this up already. We've customized ours. So we have a click report. So if I go into the event category of click report, and I'm just going to click this real quick, you're going to notice it says event category click report up here now. So now I'm just seeing test traffic, or at least medium of test, with the event category of click report. And it shows me the click URL. This is the one I actually clicked on, and then the event label, which is details around that click. So if I wanted to build a funnel or create a segment of users, things like that, I can easily do that because analytics is recording that. But one important thing, and I'm going to uncheck this right now, so we see just medium of test. Even though I see the click report, you see there's active users and events last 30 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on events last 30 minutes and watch what happens here. Look at all these other events that have been going on. So these are events that are called non-interaction events. Again, you would set these up, things like scroll and engagement. So in fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to click on engagement. You see what it says scroll depth. There's my 10%. There's my 25%. As I scroll through, actually probably not on this one. Let me go back to this other page, and I'm going to scroll through a little bit. Trigger some scroll. I'm going to go back to this other page, and I'm going to trigger some more scroll. So we have lots of different scroll events coming through. We should see that pop up eventually. Oops, let me take this out. Go back, make sure I'm looking at the right page here. Oops, take out engagement report. There we go. Okay, so now we're on Win Monthly Pass. I'm going to go to events. I'm going to go to my last 30 minutes, looking at my engagement report, see what actually popped through. We still see in the 10 and 25. Maybe I'm just not triggering enough scroll. We may have changed that, but that's all right. I think you get the idea. Is these non-interaction events. These are basically events that we have set up to not interact in a negative way with Google Analytics, so it doesn't affect our bounce rates and things like that. So if you're looking for an event that you've set up but you can't find it, just know events in the last 30 minutes is where you want to go. And so in this case, we've just set up a bunch of different events to help us track customer journey, mindset, all that sort of stuff. So it helps us with retargeting and understanding just, again, the buyer journey. So how that works. Now, the other thing that we're going to take a look at is, as we wrap up here, is conversions. The conversions report, very, very cool, because you can test goals that are back here. So in this case, we have a few different goals that have been set up in this little test here. I'm going to go to admin, and let's see if I can't take a look here. We're going to go to goals. These are the goals that we've set up. Now, there are 4 different types of goals. There are destination goals, there are event goals, there are duration goals, and you've got like pages per session goals that are here as well. So you have 4 different types of goals. In real-time reports, and this is important, you can only test destination and event goals. That is it. So destination and event goals. So I'm going to go through here. See, we have an event for, looks like any sort of lead that comes through. So let's see if I can, let me go back in here. So lead. Okay. So let's see if this is actually working for us. It should be, but I'm going to trust but verify just in case. Let me go back. So we're going to test a little lead and see if this works. We're going to try to test a goal. Again, I've not done this. This is why we're doing this live. It gives me an excuse to go through here and test our own setups, make sure it's still working. So let's go into Workshop Wednesday, shall we? So I'm going to click on Workshop Wednesday, do a little test. There we go. So now I'm going to sign up. Let's see if that works. And what should happen is we have a nice little lead being created for us. So let's find out if we do. So at this point, it should have fired a lead goal coming in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to real time, and I want to go into my conversions, and let's see if that actually worked. May or may not have, but let's go find out. Doesn't look like it did. Let me just make sure. Oh, nope, there's a bunch of goals coming through. So they are just not associated yet to the traffic source. Let me make sure. I'm going to go through here, pull up our test traffic. Oh, interesting. I got a bunch of people doing some goals. Let's take a look and see if I can't filter this out. So I think we're going to have a bit of an issue with real-time reports not working as fast as I want them to. Let me go back. So there's our active users. This is great. Let me go into traffic sources. I want to see if there's any goals at all that are associating to my conversion. Probably is not. I don't believe there's going to be. I'm going to see what's happening if it is just the fact. So we got a lot of direct none that's coming through here. So some leads that have come through direct that are being associated directly to my traffic source. So I may have lost traffic attribution there. Again, I don't know that I have, because I should have, I can jump into analytics, and what I would do is I would check the real-time reports and say, okay, I would go into, let me show you where I would do that. Come into audience, go to all traffic, source medium, and then I would come through and check out my test traffic, which I doubt is actually going to show up yet, but let's find out. That's not what I want, not insights. Let's go here, get rid of those, and we're going to click on apply. I love that Google's starting to do these little blue boxes, but all right. So now let's see if here's my test traffic. So I'm going to click on some test traffic, and let's see if we can associate any goals at all yet to it, because this just happened. So maybe, maybe not. Oh, it looks like it is. So I'm going to go to lead any, see if my test traffic came through with some leads. Not yet showing. So what I would do, this is exactly what I would do, and this is what my real-time reports are telling me as well. Now, what could be happening here is, remember, real-time has to sort of stitch together as much as it can, but it's streaming the data. You're literally sort of seeing under the hood as how the data is flowing into your Google Analytics. This is why you don't use this data to make any major decisions. So I don't know if something's broken yet, because I know my conversion's working, because I can see the lead and all these other goals that are firing here, back here. But I don't really know if my traffic source is connected to the goal. Now it should be, because everything else is connected. I saw the different pages as I was coming through, and they were all connected, and it showed what page I was on, and it's all coming through proper to this traffic source. So it should be fine, but it might not be. So what I would do, especially if I come to conversions, I don't see anything here. I'm going to make two assumptions. One is probably it's okay, but I want to see it in my actual reports, in the acquisition report. Second thing is, it could just be that this is happening so quick, real time does not have the time to stitch together the session and say, okay, well, now I know that this goal needs to be associated to this test traffic source. That stitching together stuff happens in these historic reports. That's why they are delayed, because Google Analytics is sending all the data to the servers are crunching stuff, putting them together. And so sometimes you will see real-time reports showing you what's happening, but it's not necessarily an accurate version of what's happening. So that's why you always make decisions based on historic reports, which is what we are going to do. So in this case, what I would do is I would wait a couple of hours just to be safe. I would come into the all traffic, go to, again, to source medium. I would choose today's date, the date of the recording in this case, since it just happened. Again, at least a couple hours for this report. And then we're going to do test traffic, and just to see, I doubt nothing's currently showing yet. But that's okay. So I would still look to see, did this work? Now, I already know between you and me that I don't have a problem with traffic attribution. But if I didn't know that, I would go further down this rabbit hole. The way that I know that I don't have that problem is I'm going to go back to all traffic here. This is my historic reports. I can already see things like paid Facebook campaigns from today have already created 5 leads. So if I saw everything was direct and none, and that was all I got with leads and nothing else was getting goals, then I'd be like, okay, there's a problem. Here, I know there's not, because that paid campaign is doing the same thing I just showed you as they're going through the free resources page and filling out stuff. So I know that traffic attribution is working just fine. I fully expect that within an hour or two, I'm going to see that goal associated here, even though I did not see it in the real-time reports. And there is a valuable lesson, is just because real-time reports shows it in total, but doesn't show it associated to your traffic source, which again, I'm going to show you again. You see them, and then you come back, say traffic source, and you go to conversions, and it goes, nope, nothing there. It's just because they didn't have time to stitch it together. Does not necessarily mean something's broken. Just means, okay, let's just trust but verify this. Let's make sure that that is there. And that's why you go into historic reports to actually get those answers. But give them time. You got to give them time to stitch stuff together. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and move this forward. What was your one thing that you picked up from this? Hopefully, it was the idea of using real-time reports, the different ways you can use real-time reports, the fact you can filter real-time reports when real-time reports are not actually telling you exactly what's going on, possibly, right? So because some of that stuff that you expect to be there, and that's all I was doing with that goal, is figuring out what was that thing that I did not that I expected the goal to be there, but the goal wasn't being associated to the traffic source filter. So is that really working? Well, I checked my other reports, my historic reports, my source medium report, and I did see the traffic sources were being associated to goals. So it's probably okay, but I'm still going to trust but verify that to make sure nothing's wrong with my implementation, because things change. All right. So if you want to learn more about this stuff, measure.tips/courses. I've already mentioned a couple of them in this particular training. So if you're already a member, you can go and take those. If not, take a look at these, measure.tips/courses, to help you learn all of this different stuff that's back there. Measure.tips/start if you are a company trying to learn this stuff. There's a lot more back there for you. This is multiple logins. It contains all the different courses, group coaching, and a ton more. So take a look at that. And if you are an Academy member, every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern is Academy office hours Q&A. It's basically our group coaching free-for-all. So you can show up, chat, share your screens, hang out, watch others share their screens, and figure out what other people are doing in the wide, wonderful world of measurement marketing using Tag Manager, Analytics, Data Studio, Facebook Analytics, just about anything else that is out there. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Now, next week's topic is Beyond the Basics. We're going to, every week we rotate different topics. So Beyond the Basics, a little bit more advanced. We're going to talk about creating custom reports, so actually building your own custom report in Google Analytics. And if you are not yet a part of Workshop Wednesday, that particular one will definitely not be public. So if you want access to that, you can get it. You just need to be a part of Workshop Wednesday. It is currently free to join that membership, measure.tips/WW. Again, it is a free membership, but you do need to join. All that will happen is once a week, you get a little email that says, hey, here's the topic for Workshop Wednesday. And if you want to watch it, great. If not, wait till the next week. So it's entirely up to you. And of course, you can leave that at any time. All right, you have just watched Getting Started, Tips and Tricks Using Real-Time Reports in Google Analytics. Thanks again for watching this video, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.